This video is going to show you how to do a confirmatory factor analysis in R. Packages we're going to use to do this is, as usual, just the read Excel package to read in our dataset. The LaVan package, which stands for latent variable analysis. I'll put the link to the website in here as well. And also LaVan plot. This just shows you how to make plots. Actually, it shows you how to do your little factor structure diagrams, and it's quite easy to use. As usual, we don't need to install these every time, just the first time that you use them, but we do need to pull them all out of the library. We'll just do that. Out of habit, we'll turn off scientific notation as well. So first thing we need to do is read in our data set. So this example is based on the attitudes towards goat cheese scale, which we did the exploratory factor analysis on, and this is a new data set in which we're going to do the confirmatory factor analysis. So I'm just going to quickly run that and we'll view the data set. And this is the data set. So it's just the attitude towards goat cheese scale on a 1 to 4. Like it, all these questions, and we've got 9 items, so it's just like before. The first thing we need to do is fit our model. So our exploratory factor analysis told us that we had a 3-factor structure in which we had 3 subscales. Each of these subscales was made up out of 3 items. So we basically need to tell LaVan that is what our model looks like. To do that, we're just going to call it model 1. You can call it anything you like. And then what makes up model 1? Well, in the apostrophes and the single quotation marks, basically need to say factor 1 is made up of attitude towards goat cheese item 1, item 2 and item 3. Factor 2 is made up of item 4, item 5, item 6. Factor 3 is made up of item 7, item 8 and item 9. This is the symbol here that's critical, equals tilde. And that means it is measured by. So factor 1 is measured by item 1, item 2, item 3. Factor 2 is measured by item 4, item 5 and so on. So we just run that and it creates that model. It doesn't give us any additional information. Other than that, we just told it what our model is. Now this next line of code is going to fit the model. What we're going to call this, we're just going to call that fit. And we're going to do a confirmatory factor analysis on model 1, what we've just created there. And the data that we are using is our attitude towards goat cheese CFA data. What we read in there. So we fit that. So it's now fitted this model, and then we just need to display the results. Displaying the results is simply, we ask for a summary of fit, so what we've just created. There's a few options that I've put in here. There's lots of different options that you can use. I'm not going to go into loads of them in great detail, but the options that we're going to use is standardized equals true. This will give us standardized or beta values. CI equals true. This is going to give us 95% confidence intervals. And fit measures equals true. So this is going to give us all our fit measures. This fit here by default is maximum likelihood. If you want to specifically code that, you could just type estimator equals and then ML. The reason this matters is you may not want to be doing a maximum likelihood estimator. You may want to do generalized least squares, you may have to do weighted least squares, diagonally weighted least squares. There's all different measures. I've written some information on this below about different estimators that can be used, and you can also use LaVan websites. Brilliant, really easy to navigate through, that will cover all that as well. Let's get rid of that because we don't really need it. So we'll click run. And this is the output. I'm just going to make this a bit larger. There's a lot of output to this. The first thing we want to do is see if our model fits. I'm not going to go into any great detail into model fit indices and so on. And this is just merely showing you how to run it. I'm going to talk about cutoffs and so on. There's extensive papers, extensive writings on these. There's some recent papers that say you should be calculating cutoffs for your specific models and so on. I'm just going to mention very briefly the most commonly used cutoffs as I go through this. So the first thing we've got here, this is our chi-squared test statistic, and you really want this to be non-significant. However, due to the nature of the size of this data set and the complexity of the model, it's always pretty much going to be significant. So we shouldn't hold too much store by this. Instead, we could look at it in terms of being a norm chi-squared. That's the chi-squared statistic divided by its degrees of freedom. You want that to be less than 3. You scroll down a bit further. We've got two particularly useful measures here. CFI is very commonly reported, the comparative fit index. A good fit, you want that to be above 0.95, and it is in this case. A moderate fit is above 0.90. So we've got a good fit on our comparative fit index. The Tucker-Lewis index is sometimes reported, and that follows exactly the same rules as the CFI. You want it to be above 0.95 good, above 0.90 for acceptable. The AIC and the BIC, they're not very useful on their own. That's how you'd use these to compare models. The lower these values, the better the model is, but we've got no other model to compare it to, so we don't really look at that. Now the root mean square error of approximation, which is referred to as Ramsey, we want that to be less than 0.06, and again, as you can see, we're less than that, so that fits as well. And the one down here, the standardized root mean square residual, SRMR, we want that to be less than 0.07 for a good fit, and it indeed is. So we can look at this, and based on these fit indices, we can say that our model is shown to be a good fit to the data, and we can report our standardized root mean residual, our Ramsey, and our CFI as well. You could also report the Tucker-Lewis index if you wanted, but CFI is the most common of baseline comparisons. There's other ones that exist as well, like a norm fit index and an incremental fit index. So the next thing we've got, this gives us our loadings. So this is just simply the regression coefficient and its standard error for the items onto the factor, but we don't get 1 for the first one, so it's always fixed as 1. And as you can see, highly significant loadings for all of those items onto each of the factors. The covariances, this is just the association between the factors. You can see there's a significant association between all the factors here. Another thing at the end, we can also note that we've also got our confidence intervals for our effects. Obviously it doesn't give those for your fixed effect. And standard all is your beta values. It does calculate them for you as well. So that's a confirmatory factor analysis, and there's a few other bits and bobs you can do. I'm just going to very briefly cover this. So one other thing that I'm going to show you is the use of modification indices. So modification indices essentially tell us if the model can be improved by using covariances. And basically what the modification index is the reduction in the chi-squared model fit statistic you will get if you draw a covariance between the residuals of these two items. So what we do, we just say mod indices fit, so that's just our model we made up here. It's called fit. Minimum value equals 10, so that basically means it's going to show us any modification indice that is greater than 10. So anything that's going to reduce our chi-squared by 10 or more. Sort equals true is just going to put them in order of the biggest modification indices, so it makes your life a little bit easier. So we're going to run that, and here we go. So we've only got 3 that have an effect on the chi-squared of 10 or more. We wouldn't be drawing them between items and factors anyway, so the only one we're really going to look at is this one. Between item 5 and item 6, if we draw a covariance between that, our chi-squared will drop by 19.83. Now, our model fit well anyway, so you probably wouldn't be going through this process particularly. I'm just going to show you how you can draw a covariance. So we'll take our model COV, we're going to call this. We're going to do a new model, so we're just going to do model including covariances. Again, call it anything you like. And it's exactly the same as the model we had before, except we've added this little bit of code to the bottom. ATGC5, ATGC6, and we've linked them with a double tilde symbol, so we've got 2 tilde symbols, so that now tells Lavan that you want to draw a covariance between these items. So we run that model, and then we need to create the object fit cov. So this is the confirmatory factor analysis of model cov, same data as before, and then we get a summary for it, and you can see big reduction in our chi-squared. The chi-squared is now non-significant. Big increase in the CFA and TLI, so they're now really high. Ramsey's much lower. These values are also lower. Standardized root mean residual is also lower. So by adding that covariance, all the model fit indices have actually got better. And again, we can just look at these. These are still going to give you your highly significant results. Not going to get any better than they were before. But it can be the case that you have particularly problematic measures, and you can draw these covariances between them if it is logical to do so. You shouldn't just be drawing them willy-nilly to try and basically make sure your model fits. You want to do it for a logical reason. The modification indice is big enough, and there's a logical reason that those 2 residuals should be correlated as well. The other thing we can do is a plot. You can use Lavan plot for this. What we're going to plot, we'll do our model that we called fit. So we'll do the original one we did. And we can leave these as this is pretty much default. So we're going to put things in a box. That's our font type. Edge options, we're going to put different colours and so on. Coefficients, yes, we're going to have the coefficients in there. We're going to put standardized ones in there. So we're going to put the betas in there. So if I run this, it produces this figure, and then it's got all the loadings of each of our items. There are betas onto each factor as well. If you want your covariances between the factors, to show the correlation between factors, the association between factors, what we can have is cobs equal true, and this gives us this plot, and as you can see it now includes the covariances between the factors as double-ended arrows.